And here we go on our training camp preview podcast. We each came up with some questions about training camp. So let's get right to it. Ashley, kick us off. Give us your first question. You said it was an obvious one, so I want to.
I think so. I think it's like the most, or I shouldn't say obvious, but I think it's maybe the most frequently asked questions in regards to Browns training camp this year. And I think it's just how are they going to split up the quarterback reps? And honestly, I don't know if I have an answer for this right now, especially because we don't have a definitive decision on Deshaun Watson. But I think until that decision happens, and then obviously after that decision happens, it's just all eyes are kind of on how they go about this quarterback situation, because obviously you need to get Jacoby-Brissett prepped if Deshaun Watson is suspended in the early portion of the season, but you also still need to get Deshaun Watson more familiar with this new team he's on. So I think that's like the number one thing everyone is curious about and is going to be watching for.
Go ahead, Mary Kay.
I was going to say, I think going into it, they actually are going to have a plan of what they're going to do, and then they'll be ready to pivot. Here we are taping this the day before camp opens. So this is Tuesday. We'll be out there on Wednesday for the first day of practice, closed to the public for the first 3 days. But I think that they have an idea in their mind going into it of just exactly how they want to split up these reps. And I think that is based on the assumption that Deshaun Watson will be suspended for somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 games. Every time I talk to somebody, everybody that I talk to, though, is somehow connected with Deshaun Watson's side. So I must qualify it in that way. But everybody that I talk to seems to believe that he will be back on the field this season, possibly for the second half of the season. So I think that is how they're going to proceed, that they've got to get Deshaun enough reps to come back and try to get this football team to the playoffs down the stretch, but also enough for Jacoby that he can keep them in the hunt in the first half of the season.
Yeah, that was the thing I was thinking, Mary Kay. Like, even if they don't have a decision by Wednesday, which it certainly at this point doesn't seem is going to happen, they have to assume there's going to be some kind of suspension, even if it's only 4 games. They have to go into this assuming that, like, Jacoby-Brissett's going to start a significant chunk of games to start the season. So you've got to get him ready to go. But Ashley's right. I mean, this isn't Deshaun Watson coming back and playing for the Browns that he's played for the first 5 years of his career. This is him also getting used to a new team and a new system and a new coach, new cadences, all of that. So, for most starting quarterbacks who've been around for, like Aaron Rodgers, doesn't need training camp that much. He'll figure it out. He's been there forever. He's been with his head coach and play caller forever. That's not the case with Deshaun.
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what, that is so absolutely vitally true in this whole situation, that Deshaun Watson, he's banked a lot of reps in the offseason. He's banked a lot of reps over the spring, which is really going to help him. But he still does need to get ready. He needs to get that timing down. Now, in the event that camp starts and they go into it and they do a certain thing for the first 4 days, and then they find out that they're surprised and shocked that Deshaun is going to be out for the entire season. Nobody's expecting that right now. But then obviously that changes the game drastically. Everything goes to Jacoby at that point. But I do think they're going to proceed with splitting it up. I think you kind of have to go Jacoby with the first team reps. I sort of think you have to do that, but you have to get Deshaun time with the starters, because that's obviously what he's going to be doing. Now, in reading over the policy and the discipline plan, he should be able to come back and be with the team. You guys may have seen this in some things that I've written over the past couple of weeks or whatever, that he should be able to come back midway through his suspension, participate in limited activities, and reacclimate to the football team. So he could be back after, say he's out 6 weeks. He could be back in 3 weeks. I also think it's important to note, while he's out, he knows the plays, he has the playbook, and somehow, some way, he will be working with people, with receivers on the Browns offense. And, he's going to be staying in the game mentally and physically the whole time that he's out.
Yeah, Ashley, I mean, they have the iPads. He's going to have access to practice film. He's going to have access to all of that stuff. But it's just, he's not going to be around the team, which hurts you. Here's a bonus question, though, to tack on to your question. Deshaun Watson probably wouldn't play much in the preseason in normal circumstances. does he need to play in the preseason now? Should he
Yeah.
start like all 3 preseason games and bank like, I don't know, 3 or 4 preseason quarters?
I don't know if I would start him all 3 because again, like I'm like what Mary Kay was saying, I do think you need to get Jacoby-Brissett if assuming he's going to be starting any games for you in the early portion of the season. You do, I think, still need to get him out there in that environment, but I think you still need to get Deshaun Watson out there too. So maybe like one game, not all 3, I don't think, but you definitely, I think, need to have him start at least one, in my opinion.
Mary Kay, would you put him out there?
It's a very interesting and fascinating question, and it's also somewhat of a dilemma. I actually don't think I would put him out there. I think I would put him in bubble wrap for those games because, right, if you know he can come back for the last 8 or 9 games of the season, the absolute last thing that you need happening is for him to tear an ACL or an Achilles or something in a completely meaningless game when he's not even going to be around. He's an accomplished enough quarterback, and he did bank enough reps with his starters and with his guys in the offseason that I don't think you need to necessarily expose him to guys that are out there trying to make a name for themselves and trying to make these football teams. And what a better way to do that than by sacking Deshaun Watson or whatever the case may be.